Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer for Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I'm Dylan Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for geekvibesnation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Addict new release roundup. But hey, wait a minute. This is kind of a bonus episode. So last year, we did a Oops All Horror Movies edition. Kind of like the Oops All Berries, but of course we're just talking about all horror movie releases because it's October. We love to get spooky up in here. So we thought this would be fun to try again. Y'all seemed to like it last year, so we're gonna do it again. And I got a special guest here.
So frightening for this Halloween episode.
I don't know. I mean, who's better looking? I'm doing my De Niro.
No comment. I don't want to upset Slappy, so no comment.
So I'm doing my De Niro squint. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways, enough goofing around. We got some serious work to do here. I'm gonna kick off this party with one that I was really excited for. It's a great movie, and I'm happy it got a 4K release. And that is The Black Phone. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very blurry. It's all porn back here. That's why you can't see it. Okay. But yeah, it's basically just a port over of the Blu-ray release. There wasn't anything new included in this release, correct? It was all just
No.
Yeah. This also comes with a digital code that is not in there now, but if you order one, you will have one in there. So all these reviews are going to be kind of brief. The Black Phone is a really awesome 70s kind of throwback to like better genre films. And I think like we're living in an era of Stranger Things where we have a lot of 70s and 80s sort of pastiches of horror, but I think The Black Phone does a really amazing job at having this sort of stranger danger mixed with like that grungy kind of 70s and 80s horror vibe. So y'all know I am like weirdly one of the few people that doesn't really like Ethan Hawke. You can cue the booze. That's fine. Yeah, I know. I've made peace with it. But I will say he's really great in this. I credit where it's due. I will always, I think that his performance is amazing and creepy. The direction is on point. I think like I think I said this in my original review. I think the kids and the performances feel so authentic. Like everything feels very of the time. And just this, I mean, gosh, it's so good because the buildup is so amazing. And then it's just like it gives you all these sort of drips of information. And then it kind of culminates into one like epic finale. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really cool. Tom Savini, I believe, created the mask, which I thought was really awesome. Yeah, so as far as it looks, it's not what I would call a huge upgrade, but I have the Blu-ray as well, so I had time to compare it. I will say that there is, a little bit of an improvement as far as like clarity. This isn't exactly like a colorful movie, but I mean, you still do get that really nice definition, in this new upgrade. So looks good. It sounds really good. Again, no new features. This is all just port over. So that might, inform your decision whether or not you want to upgrade to the 4K. If you don't own this at all, I don't know, just get it. I mean, it does have the Blu-ray as well, so yeah.
Yeah, I reviewed this Blu-ray and I'm not as I know you are kind of like not super enthusiastic about the upgrade. I'm not sure if it is much of an upgrade in my opinion. I had
Yep.
an issue. I just want to warn people who are sensitive to like movies being like too dark. This goes insane, like too dark. Like I defended the Heat 4K, which people complain about, but this color grade is extremely dark. Like even daytime settings looks like you have like a dim like living room light on, and that's all. And
Mm.
so I just want to warn people. It's not unwatchable, but if you're watching it in like the daytime with ambient lighting, you probably won't be able to see some of the darker scenes. So it's good if you don't have it. Check out the 4K and like you can compare, and like especially if you have like a completely dark room, it's watchable. But it is a very dark transfer, so I just want to like warn people that it's very odd. It's one of the darker transfers I've seen in a long time.
No, that's interesting because I did watch this at night and I have like blackout curtains and stuff to like keep that in. So yeah, no, that'll be interesting to kind of like watch it in the daytime and kind of compare um that like color contrast. But yeah, no, that's good information to know. I mean, it might be one of those cases where, you know, the Blu-ray may be just a better way to go. But yeah. You know, and chime in also chime in the comments and tell us what you think of the transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. If it works for you, I want to know. Like, maybe I need to adjust some settings on my TV. Who knows? But one that I didn't have to adjust my settings for more than one reason. This is the new Criterion Collection release of The Others on 4K Ultra HD, which I had seen this a few times, mostly whenever it came out, and I think once probably about like 10 years ago, but it's been quite a while. So you have the 4K and Blu-ray disc here. There's not really, it's not reversible cover art, but you kind of get some like atmospheric like dark out curtains, which are thematically appropriate. So this was kind of like a surprisingly like it was a minor phenomenon in the early 2000s. I like remember just seeing the DVD case everywhere. Yes, DVD. Like remember those? Um, but so here you have like this fold out booklet with an essay and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And the back has some creepy faces and stuff. So there you go. But uh, yeah, this was like parodied on like Scary Movie and everything. But like I said, it'd been about a decade since I'd seen it. So I wanted to see how it holds up, and it holds up extremely well. This is an amazing movie. I have like an all new probably appreciation for this. I used to like it, but I really liked it this time around. It's very creepy and atmospheric, and it's like the what I want from a gothic horror movie. I did really enjoy like Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak, but I would like say that it's a completely different animal. But I think the others surpasses that, and just in kind of the atmosphere. For those who haven't seen or don't remember, this involves a family led by Nicole Kidman. She's basically it's a World War II era. She's her husband has been off at war, but he hasn't come back yet. Her children have photosensitivity, so they have to be like uh, hidden away from the light sources and stuff. So all the curtains have to be drawn and everything. And then all of a sudden, these three caretakers arrive at their door and kind of upend their world and start taking care of the house. And it's kind of mysterious, like whether like where they came from and like all that unfolds. But basically, what this is it's a ghost story where there's like some spirits in the house, and you're wondering like how like who they are, how they are they malevolent, and just trying to figure out this mystery of this family and the spirits and who and all this stuff. I don't want to spoil it because it does have a really like cool ending, and it's I think a lot of people do know it through popular culture, but if you haven't, it's a really good ending and a really good movie overall. Just because it takes its time, but it's never boring. It just kind of takes great pace to like deliver like build up scares, but deliver like a little bit of thrills like every few minutes. But it worked extremely well. And Nicole Kidman is fantastic in this. The ensemble is really good. Speaking about kid actors, the kid actors in this are very good, especially like the iconic line reading of "I am your daughter." Like, oh, sends chills. But I really enjoyed revisiting this on 4K, and Criterion did a really nice job with this. I do want to make note. I was just talking about the color grade of the previous movie. This does not have high dynamic range like most 4Ks. This is standard dynamic range (SDR). But I do not think this is a movie that really suffers from like the lack of high dynamic range. This has been a new 4K digital restoration approved by the director. So I think this is kind of what he didn't want high dynamic range, I would assume, because I believe the import from Studio Canal, which is this kind of they are releasing it overseas, it also does not have high dynamic range. So some may say, like, is it even worth watching in 4K without high dynamic range? Can I just get the new 4K restoration of the Blu-ray? You can, but I think there are some really good improvements in like fine detail. It does have stronger like color without the high dynamic range. There's still a wider color gamut even without the high dynamic range, and there's really like better compression and like encoding and stuff. So it does fine tune it, and whenever like you have like the Criterion sale and it's a $5 difference, you might as well just spring for the 4K and get the best version you can. But if you do just get the Blu-ray, I think you're still in for a treat. But the 4K looks really nice, and I had the old Blu-ray. It had kind of a weaker audio track. This one has a Dolby Atmos track, which is insane, especially when you have like those footsteps overhead. It's implemented so well in those high channels. It's really cool. And then there's also a really good amount of new special features on here. So this has a new audio commentary recorded last year with the director. It's in Spanish because he's a Spanish speaking man, but it has English subtitles. There's also a new 37-minute interview with the director. There's also another 51-minute making of, which includes the director and new interviews with Christopher Eccleston and Nicole Kidman. They got Nicole back, which is like insane. We see a lot of these like cool special editions with new interviews and stuff, but a lot of the A-list people just never want to return to their old work and like take time from their busy acting career to reflect on this. But luckily we got Nicole, so we're winning, guys. And there's a bunch of other great like making archival featurettes, making of, and special effects and all that stuff, costumes, etc., etc. So this has all the archival features, new special features, 4K presentation, and Dolby Atmos. You cannot go wrong. If you like gothic, spooky ghost stories, it's damn near perfect. So Criterion Collection, they really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that movie. It's definitely like it's something that I also have appreciated over the years. I actually saw that one in the theaters, and that was really awesome.
Nice.
And I like how I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but like that big reveal, there was like definitely audible gasps everywhere in the thing. But like after seeing like movies like The Innocents and things like that, it actually definitely like I could see sort of like where it was drawing some of its inspirations for, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, my next title is one that didn't get a lot of really good reviews. I thought it was fine. And that's The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And oh wow, okay. Here we go. Get to hold it really still.
Yeah, your filter is not playing well with these titles.
And yeah, sorry folks, we can also put that on the screen because this does have a really nice amount of special features. It's the same interior artwork. This is another one that has a digital code that's just not in there now. So this movie was fine. It was one of those things where it feels just way too long. Like if anybody, I mean, you're probably familiar with this is sort of like a footnote in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, where the Count is coming to England, and this is basically more or less like a footnote in that very long book. Have you read that? I can't remember if I asked this. Have you read Dracula?
I have not, but I did read about how this was like a chapter that most adaptations just kind of skip over.
Um, yeah, no, it's so I believe this is based on a graphic novel as well, which I have, and I haven't really had time to sort of compare. Maybe if y'all are interested, I can make that a separate video. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, they have some cool practical effects. The CGI Count Dracula is like meh. I think I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think the ending almost sets up this dynamic, and it almost feels like I want to see that movie, like what it actually kind of sets up at the end. It's fine. I just think that it's just very overblown, and I don't really know a lot about the history of this production, so obviously I don't know what happened, but it feels like it was trying to go for one thing, but the studio kind of wanted something else, and you can kind of feel like where there's a little bit of that tonal and style disconnect. Again, it's all right. I watched it. It happened. I don't know if it's something I would rush out and see again, but I mean,
Mhm.
it was really not the first, or my God, not the first, not the worst movie, by far that I've seen this year. So,
It's
uh,
also not the first movie you've seen this year, so
I
you
mean,
were
I hope
right.
not. Slappy, what did you think of this movie? Well, it was full of semen. All right, now
Boo,
this
boo,
is a
Slappy.
family show, and we're gonna keep this PG. So I thought this looked pretty good in just Blu-ray. It's one of those where it's shot in digital, so of course it's gonna like up in the up convert, it's gonna look really nice. This is a movie that's very visual, and whatever problems it might have with like the narrative and maybe some of like the tone, it definitely is well shot, and like the color palette and the production design is all really great. I actually wish this would get a 4K, and I mean, with Universal, sometimes, doing that, like doing the Blu-ray is maybe like a test thing. I don't know. Maybe we will get 4K down the road if, you know, you feel like you can wait for for the 4K or something. Probably best to do that. But yeah, it's very serviceable. It looks nice. I do love how, there's deleted scenes, there's commentary track, there's like featurettes. I love when, there is an effort to like have a lot of really nice features. So yeah, it's all right.
What a glowing review. Yeah. Yeah, I just wish they would have leaned a little bit less on the digital effects and done more practical. I think it would have helped the atmosphere a lot, but I did like it. I just whenever it transitioned from practical to digital, I was just like, oh man, like we're doing so well.
I mean,
But
they killed a kid in here, and I thought that was cool. Like, go for it. Like, if you're gonna go for it, like,
yeah.
and like the sort of payoff to that is actually, I think, one of my favorite parts of the movie, besides that kind of, well, the ending was so cool, but like it blue balled me. I was like, I want to see that movie. No, I want to see like that what they teased. I kind of want to see like
Mhm.
that would be like a cool kind of epilogue or whatever to that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Based on the box office returns, I don't think we're getting a sequel to this. But
Yeah.
uh, moving on to my next title, this is a exciting new one from Synapse Films. This is Tombs of the Blind Dead, which I had not really heard about beforehand because there's so many titles of the dead that are in the horror universe that it's just kind of hard to keep up with all of them. But this is the first installment of a series, or so I've read. So maybe I can check out the other ones once I get through with this one. But this is a Spanish language horror film, and it's interesting because it weaves in kind of like medieval elements. Like it weaves in elements of the Knights Templar, but they're it's kind of a legend where they reside in this like kind of castle where at night they arise from the dead, but they're blind because their eyes were picked out by birds, and like they kind of just, it's kind of like a zombie tale, but just kind of with some like interesting flourishes of just like touches of like medieval like imagery and like Spanish style and all stuff. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid movie. It's interesting. There are elements that I didn't completely buy into, which I'll get into a little bit. But basically, what this is, how this kind of the zombies get to the people is that there's a group of friends that are on a train, and one girl leaps from the train because she's like gets fed up with the people that she's on board with, uh, for like dramatic reasons, and she ends up getting killed and then reanimated, and her friends have to figure out what happened to her and all this stuff. Blah blah blah. But overall, it's pretty decent. What I didn't really like about this is, and yes, it's a convention of like older horror movies. It bugs me so much when characters are like so frightened that they're just like, ah, for like a minute and a half and just wait to get killed by these zombies. I'm just like, run! What is wrong with you? But it's a convention, but I it kind of bugs me a little bit. But overall, this is a pretty decent movie. There are actually two versions of this movie. There's a couple of different language tracks on the original Spanish version. There's like the Spanish, and then there's like a hybrid of like Spanish and English, and there's like three different sets of subtitles. There's also, as I showed, there's the U.S. cut here that also on Blu-ray. Both of these have been restored. The U.S. cut runs pretty significantly shorter. I think about like 15 minutes shorter, and just kind of rearranges some stuff. I watched the Spanish language cut and kind of sampled the U.S. theatrical cut, and I'm gonna like give it a full watch whenever I do the written Blu-ray review. And I think the original non-censored version is definitely the way to go. There's a lot more violence and like weird sex stuff and coherent plot. So if you like all that stuff, stick with the original language version. Hey, yeah. But yeah, this comes from a new 4K restoration from the uncut original camera negative. This has LPCM 2.0 audio. It features three audio commentary tracks, so a lot of information there. There's also a 14-minute video essay from like a film historian. There's also an 89-minute documentary on Spanish zombie films, which is chef's kiss. I love like extra features like that where it's like maybe I would buy this separately, but that it's included as a supplement on this disc is really cool. So if you're interested in learning more about Spanish horror, like specifically zombies, definitely pick up this disc. And then you also have this movie to watch, and with two versions. So overall, really good release from Synapse Films. This looks really nice, newly restored. There's still like a little bit of minor specs here and there, but it's been cleaned up like very well. Sounds really good. And yeah, just a really solid release from Synapse Films. So Tombs of the Blind Dead, really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm actually like, there's two releases in particular that I'm super jealous. This and you probably can guess the other one, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
I dig these. I have the like there's a box set that comes in like a tombstone
Oh,
kind of
cool.
thing, like a coffin. So I'll have Andre, our amazing editor, put that on the screen. But it's pretty awesome. Slappy, what did you think of it? Ah, dude, weird sex stuff. Yeah. You can't even see my mouth, right? But
Slappy,
no.
you've gotten real out of hand once you've gotten off of Nickelodeon.
um, but no, seriously, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. It's a really nice release and restoration. Those are really rad movies. The sequels, I think, are really interesting. They kind of take it into like some unexpected territory. So I don't know if you're intrigued with the other ones, but maybe if they do some standalones,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So my next title is I mean, outside of the Black Phone, it might be my favorite release actually. Um, and it's funny because it is such a bad movie, but I'll quit. It is The Dark Power. Um, hold it really still. Got some really nice features. Sorry about that. And then inside is just this, and I don't, yeah, it doesn't have interior art, just a disc. So, as you might have noticed, this is Kino, but this is Kino Cult. So this is their new line that was highly anticipated. So there is three titles initially. No, I'm sorry, that's four titles. And then there's like more coming up. I heard rumors that they're doing the Ilsa She Wolf trilogy, which I am like so excited about. You don't even know, but the Dark Power. So I want to say up top that the depiction of Native Americans is not great. I think that the intention wasn't hurtful or like I don't know. It's a little cringy, but like it's just if you can go with it and I think that the directors or the director and the producers and stuff were like trying to like have a message about how like we treated the Native Americans really poorly to say the least. But you know, maybe the depiction of them still wasn't the greatest. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. But um it's one of those amazingly bad fun movies. So let me set the scene for you. There is this elderly gentleman who um, fights people with a whip, like Indiana Jones. Like he
Nice.
is amazing. And it's so stupid and it's so cheesy, but it's so sincere that like it just makes it fun to watch. Um, it's kind of like turns into a little bit of a slasher, a little bit of like a message film, and there's some like supernatural shenanigans. I'm kind of a fan of these movies with like small town color where like everybody's kind of quirky and weird and you have like the locals that are like just fucking bizarre, like this old man that kicks ass with a whip. And then like that culminates in one of like my favorite endings where it's just like whip, whip. You're just like fighting these evil forces with like this elderly guy with a whip, and it's amazing and everybody should watch it. So I don't know if that sells you on it. I mean, it's bad, it's fun though. I know we've talked in the past about movies that well, no, actually, Dom and I were talking about this on our review for Amityville Death Toilet, which is just as bad and awful and soul crushing as you might expect. But we went through that for y'all, and but no, we were talking about how um, you know you can tell movies that are very cynical and they're just lazy and they're bad, but they're bad for like fun bad sake. But um, there's something again so cynical about it because it's this sort of the room effect where you know now everybody kind of wants to make their the room,
Mm-hmm.
which they forget that you know it's the sincerity and stuff that you know like kind of helps good bad movies. Like they weren't, you know, these guys weren't making set out to make a bad movie. It's just you know they didn't have a great budget. They didn't have like a lot of you know clout or resources and stuff, but they still made a fucking movie and it's fun and it's cheesy as hell and it's very 80s. So um I love it. I'm so happy that this got a really nice release. I've seen this before only once on a Riff Tracks. The guys at Riff Tracks did this. So I can kind of tell that it looks significantly better than what I've seen on like just like not very good prints. It's a lot of fun. I think it looks great. It's not one of those movies that is ever going to look amazing. Like the cameras were maybe not the best, but I mean, you can definitely tell that there is a really nice uptick in clarity, in color. This is from a 4K restoration, so this was a 16 millimeter print, so that's like slightly different. I feel like 16 millimeter was more like a very low budget, almost kind of home movie ish kind of thing. So that kind of obviously factors into the restoration, but I think it looks really nice overall. There is maybe some like artifacts and some points where it doesn't look as great, but I really think that like that's comes down to what they had to work with. But overall, I think this is a really nice looking print. And I mean, damn it, this is such a fun movie. I am so happy, like beyond words, that they put this out. So, Kino Cult, it's a very strong showing their first couple titles. And yeah, just buy it. I mean, you really will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. I'm glad that Kino keeps just like putting their like stretching their wings and just going into different weird corners that we're all benefiting from it. Going to a weird corner of the world, I think this might have been what you were referring to, being a little bit jealous of this release. This is from Lionsgate, is the new 4K steelbook release of The Wicker Man. Yes, on 4K. This is the final cut version of the movie. There is an import that you can get from overseas that has like 5 discs, I believe. So here's the 4K disc, and then there's a Blu-ray underneath. I'll take out the disc so you can see the steelbook artwork completely. So yeah, there's the Blu-ray disc in full of the titular Wicker Man. And okay, yeah, it's just solid underneath, but still you can see here. And this is like a gorgeous steelbook. I love it so much. Here's the back. So a lot of people have probably seen this movie who are watching this channel. I think there's a lot of horror fans and classic horror fans that watch this channel. But for those who haven't seen this, there was a remake that by all insights is terrible with Nicolas Cage, where the bees. But this is the original. This is from the 70s, and it's about a Scottish Isle where a police investigator goes to figure out what happened to a missing young girl. And while he's there, he kind of gets caught up in this community with there's like this pagan pagan festival that's happening, and there's like rituals and weird music and dancing and sexuality and just mystery, and all the residents are just a little bit off and just a little bit too committed to this upcoming festival, and you just unravel the mystery alongside with them. And what I find really interesting about this movie, I first watched it the first time I think like 2 years ago. It was the first time I'd watched it, and it was interesting to revisit it, and I do really like it. I'm probably going to get like rocks thrown at me at this, but I prefer Midsummer to this. I know it's different movies, but I just prefer Midsummer to this. But I do quite like this movie, and it has such a strange atmosphere throughout. Just the random, like the first 30 minutes, you feel like you're in a fever dream, especially just with all the people just dancing around, and just the way the music is kind of, it's not traditional like scary music. It's very light and airy and just like folksy, and just, but things just seem a little bit off. And then it gets extremely off is once you get to the finale. And there are some scenes in here that are just kind of like weirdly burned into my head, like the woman who is like seducing the man from like the other side of the wall, and like all of her naked dancing and stuff. It's just very strange stuff, and I like it. It's great. And it is a very unsettling movie. I think it's very good, and I'm glad that this got a 4K release. Like I said, this is the final cut of the movie. I'm not sure what the first cut of the movie I saw. I think I watched it on Prime the first time I watched it, but from what I was reading, the theatrical cut of the movie was kind of taken away from the director, and a lot of like cuts were made that he didn't really approve of. And this is kind of more of a version of the movie that he would have approved of. But I know, like I said, that import from overseas, I think it has multiple different cuts in 4K. So if you're wanting to spend quite a bit more money, you can import that. But for this final cut, I think it's a really good version of the movie. And I do want to say this is from a new 4K, or from a 4K restoration that happened in recent years. And since this is the final cut of the movie, there are a few scenes that are sourced from some lesser elements. So there are a few scenes that almost look like standard definition quality, which kind of throws you off a little bit when you're first watching it. But they're very brief scenes, and I think most of the scenes are of the higher 4K quality that you would expect. But there are just a few scenes where you might be like, "Oh, is there something wrong with my disc?" Just know that it is because of the different source elements and that inherent to the final cut of the movie. This doesn't have like a Dolby Atmos or like remix sound. It's the original 2.0. I think it's either a DTS or an LPCM. It is an LPCM 2.0 track. This does have Dolby Vision, and so this takes place largely in the daytime. There are some nighttime scenes, but this looks especially nice whenever it's during the daytime. The grain resolves pretty well overall. There's no like weird encode issues or like fluctuations or anything. I didn't see much in the way of like damage or anything. This 4K restoration has cleaned most of that up. There is several featurettes that have been either ported over or created in recent years. There's some really good featurettes about the making of, and like a spotlight on the director. Some alternate scenes that weren't included in the movie, stuff like that. So there's a director interview, like I said, making of. Overall, once again, not as loaded as the overseas edition, but if you are not someone who likes to import or spend a boatload of money, this is reasonably priced. I think this is maybe like $22 at Best Buy right now, which with Best Buy getting out of the physical media game, you're going to want to get this sooner rather than later. So like before the end of Q1 2024, make sure to pick this up if you want it, because you might not be able to. But Lionsgate did a really nice job with this. The steelbook is gorgeous. The presentation itself is really nice. If you're a fan of this movie, I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I think this is most people's preferred cut of the movie. So I think you're in pretty good shape if you get this one.
So I have some thoughts.
Okay.
So first of all, I am a huge fan of this movie. I saw this in high school, and it was one of those movies that like completely kind of blew me away. Like as far as like what a movie could do, as far as like with mood and atmosphere, and just like you said, very unsettling and strange, and like a fever dream. I think is kind of the best way, that you put it. But yeah, I'm somebody that like I actually kind of prefer the theatrical cut. That's what I started on, and with the director's cut, um, it's fine, but I actually feel like things flow a lot better in the theatrical. And then the third cut, which is like the final cut, which um I think is like a bit of an amalgamation of the theatrical and the director's cut, and maybe some other things to make up the final cut of the film. I would love to find an edition in the US that had all of those editions, that, maybe if you prefer one over the other, like, I don't know, I'm a weirdo, I guess. I love the theatrical. I have a Anchor Bay did this wooden Wicker Man thing, and I wanted one for so long. And my last year for Valentine's Day, my husband got me one, and it was the coolest fucking thing ever. And I actually interviewed some of the guys that from Anchor Bay that actually put that together, which was also really cool. So I might be one of those people that might spring for the ultra Gucci, edition of, because I'm sure that has like every cut and soundtrack. The soundtrack is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a big folk music fan, and I love it. Yeah, but no,
Mike's
that
about to bust open that wallet.
yeah. I mean, it might end up in divorce court, but it's okay. I feel like it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
But no,
clutching your Wicker Man 4K set.
so my next title is actually the number one in this Kino cult line, and that is Dus Franco's Lorna the Exorcist, and that is very spicy. Um, I feel like angle it. I'm sorry. I will have still images of these, but it's basically the same. No interior, but so I'm not like the biggest fan of this director. Like I get it. Like he has such an interesting aesthetic. It's very weird. It's very surreal. I love his use of like nature, and I like how a lot of his actresses are kind of painted up like clowns. Um, it's almost like if I don't know if this is giving him more credit, but it's almost like a deconstruction of like glamour of like the 60s and the 70s, where it's almost taken to this sort of absurd conclusion. Which I mean, it's funny because like some of these actresses, I mean, this looks like drag makeup, like this looks like Trixie Mattel or you know what have you. But um, yeah, I don't know. Like this is like just it's a lot of like lesbian sex, which just doesn't really do it for me. And if it does for you, that's great. I love that for you. Um, but I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of that, but there's a lot of just incidental plot in there to just, keep the sex going. And I mean, to give this film credit though, I do really like the interludes of very surreal moments, and I do like some of the horror and violence. I think particularly I like how and when the violence is used. But yeah, I mean, I just think that this I'm not really the audience for this, and that's fine. I'm really excited for fans. I know Franco has a lot of diehard fans. That's great. This does have a bunch of interviews. It has a Tim Lucas um, commentary track, which that's great. I thought his thing was Bava, but like, you can have that too, I guess. That's cool. And yeah, like Stephen Thrower is obviously somebody huge in the genre. He has an interview, um, and this has both a French track and an English track. Um, and both of us we're like subs before dubs, but um, whatever you prefer, they got both. They got you covered. Yeah, as far as the look goes, I mean, again, like the I mean, this fares better than the Dark Power. I mean, obviously they were working with a little bit better of a budget. The camera equipment was definitely a step up. Um, that was like 60 millimeter. This is 35. So yeah, you're gonna get a nicer kind of quality overall. Colors really do pop. There's only a little bit in the way of like artifacts and like debris and stuff, but overall, it seems really nicely cleaned up. And it sounds really good as well. So, again, it's not my favorite, but like it has its fans, and you know, if you're needing this in your collection, there you go.
Yeah, I don't think I need it in my collection, but I'm happy for those who do. So good on Kino for them. My next title is from Unearthed Films, and this is Deadgirl, the 15th anniversary edition, which this is quite a movie. There's some alternate artwork underneath here, and you can get the so here's the disc, and then you can get the new slipcover artwork underneath if you uh, flip it over. So this film is arguably, let me see. Yeah, I would say this is probably the most upsetting movie I'm talking about this week. It's because it kind of shows human beings at their worst. It's about uh, two teenagers who one of whom is played by Noah Segan, who is a very talented actor and best friend of Ryan Johnson. He's also made he's directed some good movies as well. The two kids, they kind of like ditch school one day and they're like kind of fucking around and just they're exploring like an abandoned factory, and they come across this room where there is a girl who is just tied up completely naked, and um they they're at first they're trying to like figure out what they're going to do, and then of course the Noah Segan character, he starts to turn into a creep, and he's just like starts like doing stuff to the naked girl, and his friend does not want any part of this, but they have like a spat, and then things go from there. But come to learn, whenever the other guy returns, uh, this girl is dead and she cannot die. She is basically a zombie, but not like completely like rotting or anything. It's just she is a girl that you can do anything to, but she remains like she will come back to life and be nonverbal, and you can just do whatever you want to her. And this just kind of goes into a thing of just this, like I said, the Noah Segan character, he and like another friend just start using this woman like for like sexual gratification just for weeks and weeks, and it kind of like weighs on the friendship with the original friend, and there's there's a whole lot to this, but it's it's very disturbing, and it kind of like it eventually kind of evolves into kind of a zombie tale, but not quite like an actual legit zombie tale. But it's very low key. It's more about the showing the degradation of morality within these characters, and what how kind of a lot of men just kind of view women as sexual objects, but it's just kind of actualized on screen. Once again, it's very upsetting, and not for like the normal reasons that a horror movie is upsetting. It's more like morality based, and you just kind of feel dirty after watching this movie. Not that it doesn't have its place. I didn't completely hate it. It's just a very off-putting movie, and um, it did just kind of leave me thinking about a lot of these questions. And I didn't completely love the ending, especially, but it's hard to talk about this movie. There's a lot of like taboo topics associated with this, and like just wrapped up in this movie. And this girl that's like being objectified, she is completely naked the entire movie. Anytime you see her, she's just they never attempt to do anything because they just view her as an object. And just like some of the dialogue that these characters have just show how like little respect that they do have for women and stuff, and it's just very upsetting. But uh if you think you can handle it and you want to kind of explore like a movie with that addresses some of those issues, not always the most sensitively, but they do try to address some of these issues. I think it's worth a watch if you think you can handle it. I don't think this comes from a new transfer or anything. This was made in the late 2000s, but I think it's just like a reused digital transfer. It looks pretty nice. I didn't notice any major flaws with it. There is a little bit of crush in the darkness, but nothing too egregious. No, like not a lot of digital artifacts. I think mostly this is being reissued for the special features, and this does include a couple of commentary tracks, 5 new interviews, including one with the director, one with Noah Segan, and a few other of like the crew members. There's some a making of featurette on this, some other archival featurettes. So I think I think MPI put this out originally on Blu-ray, but I think it was a little bit more stripped down. But if you are a special features nut, I think this is the version to get. But once again, it's a very hard movie to watch, just because if you if you care about women, but which you should. But overall, tentatively recommended. It's just it's tough.
Yeah, that's one that I when I saw you were reviewing this, I was pretty interested because I had heard a lot about this movie, but I've never actually seen it. And now I'm like, maybe I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Um, or I know sometimes I have to be in a right kind of headspace for stuff like that. So that's kind of a good heads up. So my final title, I wanted to end with something really fun. And this was another one that I was like really excited that was getting sort of like some special treatment. And that is the Roger Corman produced Beast from the Haunted Cave special edition. Oh my God, that's so bad. Sorry. Okay, well, hopefully you can see. Yeah, it's got a nice booklet. We'll pop that bad boy out. So this is 2 discs. We have a bonus movie here, and so we have some really nice essays. The stills they use are really well reproduced here. Um, so um, this is one of those also really bad movies, but it's pretty fun, but it's also like again, kind of like the Dark Power. There's like this sincerity there. I hadn't seen this in a while, so this was really fun to rewatch because I kind of forgot how like somber and very bleak the tone of this movie is. Like it's these sort of gangster characters, but one of the I guess she's like the mall of the group. She's sort of regretting her choices in life, having gone in this kind of criminal route. And it's almost like she's having this existential crisis in this goddamn monster movie. I fucking love it. Like so the writer I'm very sorry I'm blanking on, but he also wrote some other really great Corman classics. Um which I'm gonna look up really quick. But just to say, yeah, again, I was pleasantly surprised that it has a little bit more depth than what you might expect. But yeah, it also kind of brings that fun, like something you would kind of expect from a movie called The Beast from the Haunted Cave. But I like how, unlike a lot of other Corman movies, they don't really like lean in that to that tongue in cheek. They do have this sort of earnestness about it. Oh, so the screenwriter is Charles B. Griffin. He also did Little Shop of Horrors, which is so synonymous with the 80s film that people kind of and the musical that people forget that was a Roger Corman film from 1960. But he also wrote Death Race 2000, another highly influential movie, Creature from the Haunted Sea, another Corman film. So he has a really solid resume. And yeah, it's a fun movie. The monster is hokey as hell, but again, it has this sort of like dread-filled existentialism. Like it almost feels a little like No Exit mixed with like a Corman B movie. So that's fun. Um, Ski Troop Attack is the bonus feature on this. I think that's kind of nice because both features are only just a little over an hour. So it really does feel like you kind of get your money's worth. There is some really nice features. We do have a TV cut of Beast as well, presented on the first disc. We get a new commentary track, and there's some really cool stuff on the second feature, Ski Troop Attack, which features a commentary track from C. Courtney Joyner, who is awesome. Anytime he does a commentary track or any kind of special feature, it's always awesome. He definitely knows his stuff. So yeah, as far as this looks, like this always kind of had these public domain releases with like really, really bad transfers. This comes from a new 4K scan from 35 millimeter print. It looks fantastic. Probably not going out on a limb saying that this is the best it's ever going to look. It is very clear. I mean, you do get the occasional like lines and artifacts and debris and stuff, but I mean, honestly, like it's again when you're used to just watching really shitty prints and you see this, it's really nice looking. They did a good job. If you're a monster movie fan, like this should definitely be in your collection.
Awesome. Yeah, that label has been doing a really good job. They haven't that's they're just a couple of releases deep, but so far I think they've collected a really like interesting array of titles. So I'm interested to check that one out. I did not want to end on like a super heavy note like my last title, so I this is something a little bit more at least popcorn fun. This is season 2 of The Purge, which aired on USA back when it was airing. This, I believe it aired in 2019, and this was the final season of The Purge. And in recent years, I've caught up with the Purge movies, and I wanted to always go back to the show and kind of see how that differentiated. And yet, both seasons are on Blu-ray. The other seasons somewhere around here. But focusing on season 2, because season 1 it did a lot of what you would expect from a Purge tale, of just like adapting it for the small screen, taking place on Purge night, and just having a lot of disparate tales. Season 2, this kind of acts as like an anthology series. You get all new characters, and whenever this season begins, you are it's right at the end of the Purge night, and what most of the season is it's the year leading up to the next Purge and kind of the fallout of the previous year. So you have a couple different groups of characters. Like there's one like husband and wife where they very nearly got killed by a hitman, but they're trying to learn like who hired a hitman to kill the husband, and then there's some people kind of suffering from PTSD from their experiences on Purge night, and then there's other kind of there's like a crew like bank robbers that are like just spending the year planning their heist that they're going to pull off on Purge night. So it's just kind of a lot of different really cool interesting elements of world building that you don't really have time to explore within the Purge films, because it's just like it's a feature length, and there's only so many storylines you can tackle. um, it doesn't always completely work, but I think what I do really like about this season is the world building, and just you do kind of have this all these questions whenever you watch these movies of just like, what is this world like whenever the Purge isn't going on? What are the dynamics? How do people live with what happened? And you do get some characters from sequel to sequel in the movies, like Frank Grillo plays like in the second and third one. I think he might be coming back for the sixth one that's coming up. But it's interesting to follow these characters throughout the season, see how they kind of work within this world, and it's a pretty good show. And I'm a little bit disappointed it was canceled after the second season. It was canceled in 2020, so I think maybe the pandemic had something to start do with it, like because it couldn't start back production, and they just figured screw it, and they just canceled it. But you have 10 episodes here, 2 disc, and it's a pretty entertaining season. It looks really nice on Blu-ray. I mean, I am glad this got a Blu-ray release. Sounds good. No special features, but I'm unsure if this is actually available to stream anywhere. It might be available, if anywhere. I would presume maybe Peacock, since it's a Universal show, but I'm not completely sure about that. But if you're willing to take the leap, I don't think this is too expensive. So both seasons are on Blu-ray. The second season, I think you can just jump into this one if you. It's like I said, it's an anthology format. You will not be lost if you jump into the second season. But both seasons are entertaining in their own ways. But I prefer the second season. And if you're a fan of the franchise, I think it's worth at least checking it out, see if it works for you. It's only 10 episodes. If you get a few episodes in and you don't like it, you can give up. But I think it's worth it checking out. So the Purge season 2, it's a good addition to the franchise, and a good release from Universal. And it's my final title, so hopefully people feel I went out on a positive note.
Nice. I'm a little hit or miss on the movies, but I love the concept. Again, I love Ethan Hawke, of course. He's my favorite actor.
Of course.
Not. Um, but no, that's really interesting though. It's like a series that I've always been really curious about. So hearing that it has like really good world building and it kind of talks a little bit about the more of the nuance of like what it's like kind of between the sort of purge things is really I think a fascinating way to sort of so I will definitely check that out. And yeah, I think that is it for our episode. Thank you, Slappy, for joining us. Hey, what the hell else was I gonna do? Fuck you. Slappy, that's so mean. I'm sorry about him, folks. So we do this. We will have a regular episode coming up as well. So please subscribe. All your likes, comments, all that stuff is amazing. And as always, thanks for hanging out with us.